What is up, you guys? It is me, Tristan, here at Ingram Orchids and More. Today I want to do, maybe this will be a quick video. We'll see how long it takes. But I've got a Platycerium elephantotis, also known as Platycerium angolense. So I have two of these, and one of them I showed in my video about Staghorns, and I told y'all how I mounted it. It wasn't doing so well. So Platycerium elephantotis, or Platycerium angolense, I think angolense is the new accepted species name for this. But I had two of them. One of them, it didn't work out so well. It's recovering now. The second one, I think I want to do something a little bit different. I want to repot this guy into a basket. And you're asking, why do I want to do a basket instead of the board? Well, first off, the board, the first one, they were about equivalent size. It did a lot of, it set it back severely because I think I kept it a little bit too dry. I'm an underwater by nature. I think I tend to let plants go a little bit too long without water, and keeping it in a basket with some moss probably keep it a little bit wetter. So something interesting of note. So these big leaf, well, this is not technically a big leaf one, but they do have big leaves. So Stemmeria and elephantotis, I think, are very closely related, and these species like a lot of water. And so it's really important, especially when it's warmer, to not let these guys dry out for too long. Don't let them get crispy. Especially if you're using sphagnum moss, when it gets really dry, it becomes crispy and hydrophobic, and it becomes really hard to wet it again. But that being said, I just want to walk y'all through what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put the camera on the tripod and do my best to show y'all what I'm doing, so y'all can follow along with me. All right, can y'all see me? All right, so the first thing I want to talk about here is, let's get the tag out of here. We've cleaned our surface down. We've made sure our working environment is clean, nice and sterile environment here. I want to have a good look at these roots on this fern here. And I'm trying to be pretty gentle with it because, it's a fern. I mean, they are kind of delicate. I don't want to break any of the roots if I don't have to, especially if you're not careful, or if you're not careful, you can break off the root system right here where it attaches to the main growth of the plant, and that would be a nightmare. It would almost spell disaster for the plant. So it looks here like we have got some great roots going on here. Hopefully that's focusing. So this was in a 4-inch nursery pot here with just some premium grade sphagnum, orchid sphagnum, and you can see, sphagnum is that light tan color, and this is all dark. That is all roots growing in there. So this has got some excellent roots on it, so I'm real happy with that. And the last one that I mounted also did too, but again, like I said, it didn't work out so well. It's just now recovering because I didn't water it enough. Maybe didn't use enough moss on the mount. But at the nursery that I work at, we have definitely put a lot of these in wooden, just your standard wooden basket that you would use for orchids or bromeliads or something like that. And we've done that before with extra moss, and that works really well. So for the time being, I'm going to keep it centered in this basket, and eventually what I'll do, they'll grow horizontally like this for a while, but eventually I will turn the basket probably on its edge, or I don't know, I may end up doing that right away. Let's see how the plant looks once we get it in here and get it repotted. So let's do that. So it looks like it would be overpotted for an orchid, but for a Staghorn fern, that's probably just about right. I didn't have any moss, so I had to go to the store. This is just what they had available, so that's what I'm going to use, just the Better Grow premium grade orchid moss. The better moss quality that you can get, the better. The real low quality sphagnum moss tends to break down a little too quickly, and then you end up with a real acidic media, and the plant's not very happy after a little while. So if you can, make sure you're using something like premium grade sphagnum moss. And maybe I could have done this off camera, but I've got my bowl over here, and I've got some hot water running. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of moss in my bowl here, because the moss is really hydrophobic. Get some warm water. Actually, put that around for a bit. And this is going to be a big basket, so I'm going to need quite a bit of it. some people like to let it, you know, they like to soak their sphagnum moss for a couple hours, and you know, that's fine. But sometimes I find if you use hot water and you massage it as you're soaking it, you can really get it to absorb just about as much water as it's going to take fairly quickly. Another thing you can do to speed up the water absorption of your moss, just a tiny bit of dish soap, and even that might have been a little bit too much. All right. So what I'm gonna do is just, without losing too much of it, clogging up the drain, is I'm gonna do some massaging. Work this. This is pretty warm water. It's not scalding hot, but it's warm. And we've got our soap to add as a surfactant, as a wetting agent. And we're just gonna get our sphagnum moss, you know, nice and soaked. Pour a little bit of that water out. Let too much of that moss go down the drain. I'm gonna wonder why we're gonna have to call a plumber to unclog it, so don't let too much moss go down the drain. And if you massage it like this, it won't take too long, and all the little dry bits will be nice, and the water will soak in there, and you'll have a nice hydrated moss. And this is just me. I'm not being super precise. So if you leave a little bit of it that is dry, I mean, it's not the end of the world. So what I'm going to do is just squeeze out as much of the water that will come out from just pressing on the moss. It's nice to work with a moist moss, but not soaking wet. Look at all this crap. It's going to go down the drain, cause an issue. All right. Back to our thing. A black zip tie, an 11 or 14 inch zip tie will work. What I like to do, and you know what, this is kind of a lot of space, and I got a bag of lava rock right here. What I might do is just, in all four corners of this basket, maybe stick just one or two pieces of lava rock just to take up some space, so I'm not using so much moss. This one does like a lot of water, but this is going to be just a ginormous heaping thing of moss, so let me put some rocks in there. You can see, got my rocks in here. And then what I'm going to do is, see this area right here? I'm going to be very, very careful of this bud, because this looks like the only bud I've got on this one right now. This is one that pups, but this bud here is the only one that's growing. So I want to be real careful with the growing point. But I'm going to put a zip tie around this area right here and strap it to those bottom boards of the basket just to hold it in place. And I'm going to do it probably loosely at the beginning. You know what? Actually, I told y'all wrong. I don't think I'm going to go around the bud because I don't want to damage it. There's no growth buds back here that I can see. So on the back of the shield fronds here, what I'm going to do is just, there's another gap here. I'm going to put the zip tie around that area so that I don't run the risk of damaging that bud. That's another thing I should mention. It is important, if you're going to grow them horizontally for a while, it's not as important. But if you're going to hang them vertically or at an angle, it is absolutely essential that you have the orientation of the staghorn correct. When you have something that, like this one, if it had a bunch of eyes or a bunch of pups growing everywhere, it'd be really hard to get it all right. But this one only has one, and so what you want to make sure is that you have it orientated, not upside down. So your shield fronds, if you're growing it horizontally, it will start to tell you where the top is. This is the top where your shield fronds are. The fertile fronds are always going to be emerging from the bottom where they're supposed to, below the growth bud. And so if you were to mount this, which we're not going to do that today, we're not mounting it on the board, but if you were to mount this like that, that would be absolutely incorrect, and the plant would either suffer or it would take a long time to acclimate and grow as the plant tries to grow and reorientate itself the correct way. So make sure you have the orientation of your staghorn correct, and this is more so important when you're growing stuff like the big leaf varieties that they only have one growth point. The ones that pup, if this dies, there's a chance it may throw a pup out of the back or out of the roots. But the big leaf ones like Grande, Superbum, Holtumii, all those ones, you absolutely have to have the orientation correct. So just remember that. Your buds right here, your fertile fronds are going to emerge from below it, and then your shield fronds are going to start to grow around the edges and make this crown. So make sure this is facing up like that. But we're growing it in a basket horizontally for right now. So what you'll see me struggling to do is get that zip tie connected around the bottom here. And like I said, I'm going to just do it loosely. It's only to keep the plant from falling out, especially if you're going to put this at an angle. After you've repotted it into fresh moss, stuff doesn't like to sit still in moss. If gravity can help it come out, gravity will help it come out, and it will. So make sure you have some way of anchoring it in there. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, This is just my method with the zip tie. You can use other methods as long as you're just real gentle with your growth bud. It's kind of sitting a little low. That's all right. I'm gonna add in all this moss, and hopefully we won't have to tighten it down and pull the plant lower into the basket. Now that I'm saying that, guys, a lot of my moss is going to run through my cracks here, so I think I'll add just a few more rocks just to keep my my sphagnum moss from just running out the bottom. Okay, we're back. We have a couple camera difficulties there, but we're all good now. So as we were putting moss in there. We have our rocks to take so that the moss doesn't run straight through the bottom. But being how moisture loving this species of Platycerium is, we are putting quite a bit of moss in here with this guy. See how we are. I don't want to pack it too tight, but I do want it to be pretty firm. You don't want it to be so tight or packed in so tight that it would almost start like wringing out any excess moisture. But if you leave it too light, there'll be too many air gaps and it'll dry out really quickly. And I have now used up all of the moss that I had wet in my bowl here, so I'm wondering if I should just call that good enough, or if we should just let's do just a tiny bit more, shall we? Just a tiny bit. Yeah, a lot of times any of this stringy, hard stuff that's in there, I pull that out and throw it away. Even the best quality moss, sometimes you'll find that. Not to say that this is the best quality moss, but even with high quality moss, sometimes you'll find that. The low quality stuff will just be chock full of all that that hard stringy material. That's enough. That's enough to finish doing what we're doing. Pack just a little bit more in there. Maybe a little bit more out there. Let's see. That's good. And now I have packed it tight enough that I don't think there's zip tie that's over it. I don't think we'll need to pull it too much, because if I pull it too much, it's going to start pulling the plant down, and that's what we don't want. So that's probably good. You see our zip tie on the bottom there. That's holding our plant. It's just around the root base gently, and that's going to hold it from falling out while it's rooting into its new moss. And we're going to put a hanger on it, and we'll show you what that looks like when we're done, and then we'll call it a day. It'll be a done job. Alright, so I didn't have any 4-wire hangers to grow it horizontally like I was telling y'all, so I'm not a man of my word. We're going to do at an angle, which is why we put the zip tie in there, because if it's at an angle, it's going to be, gravity is going to be more inclined to pull her on out of there. So, because I don't have the 4-wire, we're just using a piece of sealing wire to make a two-sided hanger. And that's what I like to use for my hangers that I make myself. I like to use drop sealing wire. It's great stuff. Let's actually bend this. Sealing wire is pliable enough that you can work with it, but not so flimsy that it's gonna unbend itself. See, I would like that to realistically sit up just a little bit more while it's growing. Otherwise, what happens is you'll end up with a gravity will pull the shield fronds over top of the bud, and we don't want that. But I don't know if there's anything I can do about it now, unless, hold on, got an idea. Sometimes if you, even though this is the orientation that we want it, sometimes if you make the hanger diagonally, you can get it to sit somewhat horizontally. So let's take one of these off, see if we can get her to sit horizontally. And if not, we'll just throw this whole thing in the trash can and we'll give up. No, we won't. But we will be having to go get a 4-wire hanger. Not sponsored by Leatherman, but everyone should get you a nice Leatherman multi-tool. Keep it with you all the time. You never know when you're gonna need a pair of pliers. All right, yeah, for now that sits pretty much horizontally. That'll be, as long as it doesn't shift in a windstorm one way or the other, we'll be good. And there you go. You got your Platycerium elephantotis or Platycerium angolense repotted into a new basket. Or we're gonna hope, let's go compare it to the one that we consider, you know, an accident or an accidental mounting job that did not result in a very good result. Let's see. This is the one I said that I mounted and I just didn't water it enough to keep it nice. These were both the same size at one point in time. You see this guy is just now starting to recover, and as I'm saying that, it's real dry. See, when you mount staghorns, they dry out real fast, even though I'm pretty sure we watered the other day. This sphagnum moss is already like super crispy. So you gotta be careful about that, especially with these ones that like a lot of water, like Staghorn and angolense. But there you go, there's a finished product. Hopefully we'll keep you updated. Hopefully this one don't die. Thanks, guys.